This is Math 2134 coming to you from the College of DuPage, and the title of this lecture is Solutions and Commentary on the Low Stakes Assessment Quiz number 1. I encourage you to be active learners as you watch this video. Let's begin with the commentary. One objective of doing these low stakes assessment is to test if you can meet a deadline and complete 2 tasks that will be part of our high-stakes proctored exams later. No one was penalized for failing to do this task. But if you did both of them, you get 1 extra credit My Math Lab percentage point if you completed both of them by the deadline. Another objective was for you to test or understand in a low anxiety setting your knowledge of the material. A third objective was for you to understand the rigor that I will expect, the way I will grade things, and the protocols I will be applying on the high stakes exams. This should help you to prepare better. If you did not do well, there are many support mechanisms to help you do better in the future. We have the dedicated math associate, we have guided study groups, we have the virtual math assistance area, and we have my 10 office hours per week. There's no shortage of support. I'm going to go over the solutions now. What you should do to actively participate is get your paper out and grade it to see how you're doing. And this might indicate that you want to adjust your approach to this course. Or maybe you're happy with how you did. Only you will know. This was problem 1. It was a supply-demand problem. That's an important thing. And I ask you to find the equilibrium price and quantity. Well, the equilibrium price and quantity happens when supply equals demand. So this was the demand equation. This was the supply equation. And since they're both equal to P, so this one's equal to P and P is equal to that one, I can set these two things equal together, and I have to work to solve that. And so I'm solving a quadratic. Turns out this one factors, and you can solve this, and you get the equilibrium quantity was 7,500 pounds, and the price was $3 per pound. I would probably call this a 10-point problem. This would be worth 5 points, including the units. This would be worth 5 points, including the units. It would be right or wrong. Number 2 is a word problem. We have, and actually number 1 was a word problem too. We'll have a bunch of word problems, and here's the questions that were asked. So the difference between the two, you had equations, and you took the first equation minus the whole of the second equation. So you had to make sure you get these signs right, and then you simplify to make it easier to plug in numbers. So this is what you get. So then you plug in 1, which was one of the questions that would be asked. So you plug it in, and the answer should have been 72.98 per person. And the other one, you were supposed to plug in 6, and the answer there would be 145.88 per person. And so let's see, I guess there's 2 questions, so this would be a 10-point question. 5 for this correct answer and 5 for this correct answer. Number 3, you were to evaluate these 2 things. I was actually asking you to evaluate them exactly. And so, you know, like pi is pi, it is not 3.14. Okay, so the absolute value, I guess, was a key to this one. 2, the square root of 3 is bigger than pi, So this absolute value is going to be 2 to the square root of 3 minus pi. And the square root of 3 is bigger than the square root of 2, so this is going to be minus parentheses, square root of 3 minus the square root of 2. When you simplify that, you get this as your exact answer, and there's no way to simplify that as the exact answer, so that's what I'm looking for you to have. Here, one way you would do this is you could multiply those exponents and you would get minus 1. Now minus 1 as the exponent inverts this, so this is minus 1/3. So when you invert minus 1/3, you get minus 3. This would be 5 points for this one and 5 points for this one. Here, again, was a 10-point problem, and I'm asking you to find this and this. This is a piecewise defined function. I'm asking you to find f of 0 and f of 2. It would be 5 points for each of those answers. And the answer turned out to be 1 for each of those, but you would say 1 twice, and that's how you should grade that problem. Here we were supposed to find the domain for this function. Now there's two things going on. We can't have a negative under the square root, and also we can't have a 0 in the denominator. So these are the two conditions that are OR, but I usually want you to write that in interval notation, and so this is the domain. It would be bracket minus 1 to 0, a parentheses there, union, parentheses, 0 to infinity, and a parentheses there. So that is the answer, and it's, I guess this is 10 points right or wrong. Problem number 6, I gave you a function, and you were determined whether the point lies on the graph, above the graph, or below the graph. The point was 4, 6. And so you plug 4 into the function, and you find out that that tells you that the y value is 5, because it's always y equals f of x, and 5 does not equal 6, so it's not on the line. And in fact, if you think about that, 5 is less than 6, so that point is above the graph of the function. So the answer should be above the graph. This would be right or wrong, 10 points. You have to solve two equations. They're both quadratic equations. Since there's two, the problem would be worth 10 points. Each would be worth 5. The first one, you can factor this, and you should get x is equal to 1, or x could be minus 1/4. Down here, you have to use the quadratic formula, so you get x is equal to 5, and it could be plus or minus square root of 13 all over 6. Here, you were to find the distance between these 2 points. I am not going to tell you what the distance formula is. You're supposed to know the distance formula going into the exam. And so that's one thing you want to keep in mind is, gee, you have to memorize some things in this class. The distance formula, you apply it here. D is equal to the square root of the difference between the x coordinates and squared plus the difference between the y coordinates whole squared. You do all that arithmetic and you get this as the exact answer. Now I always do have a calculator, and if you write the exact answer and don't do it exactly the way I do, I write this, I will check to see if you have the right exact answer. You want to find an equation of line that passes through these 2 points. Again, I'm not giving you formulas for these. You're supposed to know them. And I ask you to put your answer in slope-intercept form. First, you find the slope. This is the formula for the slope. Again, you're not being given that. You have to know that. And notice that there's some minus times minus action going on here. So m is equal to 7 over 5. Now, I ask you to put it in the form y equals mx plus b. So it should work for either of these 2 points, and we know that m is 7 over 5. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use, I guess I used this point, so the y coordinate was 5 is equal to 7 over 5 times the x coordinate, which is 4 plus b, and I solve this for b. So I get b is minus 3 over 5, and that means that this is the final answer to the problem. And this is a 10-point problem, and so it would be worth 10 points, right or wrong. Here we were to find an equation of the line that has a slope of minus 1/3 and a y-intercept of 4 over 3. And I ask you to put the answer in slope-intercept form. And this is can almost be done by inspection. All the problems won't be this easy, but this one was. And that would be 10 points, right or wrong. Now, total your score. Are you satisfied is the question you need to ask yourself. You're the only one who knows. In closing, now more than ever, time is precious. Each day must count. Do the math. It will make you strong. And now more than ever, take care of yourself and of each other. God bless you all.